Welcome back to the Two Guys in a Cooler channel. Today we're going to be sharpening a chef's knife. My name's Eric, your host for the day. Actually, I'm your host in every video, so how you doing? And check it out. I know some of you have subscribed specifically for the sharpening. Well, I've got a series of videos that I think you're going to love. So check it out. That is a can or a con, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, AUS 10. And we're going to be sharpening this little beauty up. It was a Kickstarter program that really reached its goal, produced some knives, and you get some really great knives out of them. And this is actually a really great chef's knife. It's well balanced, it's well built. They also make a VG10 version. And truth be told, I use both in my kitchen. This isn't my knife, this is a customer's. And I really don't find a lot of performance difference. I find that the AUS 10 seems a little less delicate in the hand. But as far as performance goes, I think they both work about the same. All right, let's get to sharpening. So the first thing we want to do is we want to find the angle. We want to get our geometry right. In the next series of videos that I'm going to produce, we're going to be talking all about a guided sharpening system and some of the things that I've learned over the time that I've been sharpening. And, I just want to pass some information on to you. Hopefully you can pick up some little tidbits here and there. I sure hope you do. And the first thing we're doing here is we're finding our geometry. So I just hit a Sharpie with it. I adjusted the angle on the back end based off of the Sharpie, and I began using the first stone I'm using is this Atoma 140. And as you can see, I'm just being very, very delicate with it. I'm only allowing the weight of the arm to touch the knife itself. I'm literally putting no pressure at all, and I don't need to. The Atoma 140 is a boss. This thing cuts through metal like nobody's business. And what I'm doing here is I'm putting a quick reprofile on it. It's never been sharpened. The edge is completely blunted, and we're going to get this thing razor sharp. And so the 140 did the trick in literally 2 passes of just very delicate pressure, and actually no pressure at all, just the weight of the arm itself. And we're going to go ahead and set our drill stop collar to that height. Now, every stone is going to be put under that collar right now, and that's going to maintain that angle, that 15-degree angle that I'm trying to achieve. And the philosophy of putting everything at 20 and 21 degrees, and that's great too. But for this particular customer, I want to keep it exactly the way that the factory sent it to him as per his request. So no problem, we're going to do that. And what we're doing here is we're moving on to a Naniwa line. This is the Naniwa 320. And this thing is a performer. This thing is a workhorse that's really going to do a quick work tightening up the ruts that the Atoma 140 left behind. And let me tell you, if you want something to cut metal quick, the Atoma 140 can be dangerous because if you're not careful, this thing will really ruin a blade. In the right hands, it's magic. In the wrong hands, wow, I hope you didn't like that knife. You know what I'm saying? So here's where it gets to the point of contention with a lot of people when it comes to stone progressions. My personal philosophy when it comes to stone progressions is to move nice and easy, tight and through the line. The tighter that I can move, the better my scratch pattern is going to look, the sharper my blade's going to be. Now I can easily go from a 140 to a 400 to an 800 to a 2K and be done in no time, but my scratch pattern is going to look a little crazy. And although I can get my knife sharp, it's not going to be as sharp as it could be. What I want to do is I want to deliver a razor sharp edge. And by doing that, I'm going to move tighter with shorter progressions, as you can see in this video. And so we just finished with that 320 Pro, and that 320 really cleaned up the edges. And now we're going to move on to that 400. And that 400 is going to just soften them up even further, make them a little bit closer together. And this is the 800. So we're going to move through this. I'm not going to show you the entire sharpening. This right here is the Naniwa Goken Pro 1K. That's a fairly new stone. And then the Chosera 2K, if you're familiar with the Chosera line. And now we're going to go ahead and finish up with the 4K finisher. And this particular knife is going to be used to cut, meats and proteins and things like that. And that's a great question to ask. When you're sharpening, what is a knife going to be used for? If it's a kitchen knife, is it a boning knife? Is it a vegetable knife? Is this a EDC knife? Are you going to be, So there's a couple questions that you want to keep in mind. What's the metal of the blade that I'm sharpening, and what's it going to be used for? And really, based off of that information, you can kind of sharpen your knife. If this is a straight razor and you're going to be shaving with it, well, you're going to sharpen that completely different than if it's a paring knife or a chef's knife, or if it's a Spyderco, or it really doesn't matter. So in this case, we're going to take this to about a 4K. That's going to put a fantastic edge on it. So let me go ahead and show you what this 4K looks like. And this knife is wicked sharp. And just to let you know, we didn't do anything too special when it came to the strokes on each one of the stones. We did sweeping strokes. I started with the Atoma. We did roughly 6 passes in each section, 2 times, and then we moved on to the next stone. And so that 320, we did six passes on each section, twice over the stone. And then when I finished with that 4K, what I did was I did a pyramid countdown. I started with 10, so 10 strokes on each side, and then I did 8 strokes on each side, 6 strokes on each side, and I went all the way to 1. And then at 1, I did alternating strokes that were edge leading just to get rid of the burr. And then now we're just going to tighten it up with a little strop action that was just recently loaded, so you can see some of that compounds coming off on the knife. But no worries. And I love it when people make videos about stropping and they call it, knife sharpening's dirty little secret. That's funny. All right, so let me pause this video so you can get my thoughts on this. If you want to know whether or not your knife is razor sharp, cutting a piece of paper is not going to tell you that. Cutting a piece of paper is simply going to let you know whether or not your knife needs any areas of attention on the blade. You're going to feel them as you cut through the paper. If you want to know if your knife is razor sharp, put it up against your skin and shave with it, because if it's razor sharp, it'll cut just like a razor will, just like that. It'll leave you with no hair. And now I got a little patch of no hair on my left forearm. And so I want to see whether or not there's any areas that need any kind of attention. And so I'm going to do 2 types of cut. I'm just going to do a couple slice cuts throughout the knife, and then I'm going to do a push cut here in a second. And what I'm feeling for is I'm feeling whether or not that piece of paper snags. This is just a really flimsy receipt, actually, I got from one of my vendors. And let me get you a little bit closer so that you can kind of see what I'm talking about. If there's any area on the blade itself that needs to be sharpened better, that needs to be stropped better, maybe this little piece of burr that's hanging about, you're going to feel the resistance on the paper itself. But if there's no area, if your knife is completely razor sharp from tip to heel, you are going to have no resistance, and it's going to be pretty awesome. So let me show you a before and after. This is before we began. And that's that 4K finisher, tightening up the blade. And I'm telling you, this knife is ready to go. Thanks a lot for joining me on this sharpening. If you got any questions on this knife, on the stones, on the progression, or anything like that, leave them in the comment section below. If you're new to this channel, be sure to subscribe and click that notification bell. And stay tuned, because we're going to have a series of videos spotlighting guided sharpening systems and some tips and tricks that I've learned, and some special moves that you could do to really get that edge that you're looking for. So thanks a lot for tuning in. We do all kinds of videos about all kinds of things. This is just one segment, and we appreciate you watching. See you later.